Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Nathaniel and I'm the Industry Careers and Alumni Officer here at MIT. Joining me today for this special T2 2020 Impact event and the industry panel session are Amee, Karat, Cloud and Cybersecurity Recruitment Consultant at Digitalnet. Amee's specific technical domain covers the IT space and specialises in permanent and contract recruitment. Tricia Bayog, Internship and Human Resource Coordinator at CareerDC. Tricia Bayog is a Human Resources Officer and Internship Coordinator with expertise in coordinating best suited internships for students, building strong relationships with host companies and supervising a team of consultants. Mohammed, Managing Director at IT Total Solutions. Mohammed has been working in software engineering since 1987 in Saudi Arabia, UK and Australia, working on various banking and insurance projects, and Mazzad Kabir, co-founder at Radion Marketing, having earned his education from La Trobe Uni and Harvard and UNSW. Mazzad is a passionate entrepreneur, design and systems thinker with a deep drive for solving complex business challenges. So at this point, I might hand the discussion over to each of the guests joining us for a brief summary of their journey here today. Might I also add that I encourage you throughout today's session to pop your questions into the chat so we can address them for you. So Amee, over to you.
So with regards to myself, I started recruitment 10 years ago. My initial career was more of a hands-on sort of a tradie. I ended up breaking my knee. And long story short, I met the director of Seek Talent in my mum's shop at the time whilst measuring her cupboards. Conversation led us, down a particular path. And I said to her, look, I'll put in a new floor in your new apartment if you get me a job. And she goes, oh, what do you want to work in? I said, IT recruitment. She goes, done, easy. So a couple of weeks later, I landed my first job in recruitment with a boutique. And 2 years later, went into People Bank, Australia's largest, and then stayed with my manager for the next 7 years. After that, my old team at People Bank went and formed an agency, and they basically, they've been trying to get me on board for a couple of years, and finally I made the decision to move. I have a educational background in a diploma in networking and IT. I worked on for IBM at the beginning of my career, and then I left that because I wanted to study abroad and study linguistics and language in general. That was my passion. Then when I came back to Australia, and those two things really helped me out in my recruitment career. And because of my networking background, I've always kind of fallen into the infrastructure and security cloud space because it's something I'm very comfortable talking about and interviewing candidates for.
I think we're going to have a lot of questions for you, Amee. I think we will, given that there's a lot of students joining us and alumni that are after jobs. So get those questions in, everyone, because Amee's the right person to talk to. Thank you, Amee. Good to have you on board. Let's hop over to Tricia now. Tricia,
yep.
Internships. Here's another important for students.
Yep. Hello, everyone. I'm Tricia. So I only recently completed my studies, which was 2 years ago in 2018. So I completed a Bachelor of Business, major in Management and sub-major in HR and Events Management at the University of Technology, Sydney. So I'm pretty new in the industry. I don't have as much experience as Amee. So I started working in the HR industry as an internship, actually. So I was looking for an internship to complete my studies, and I came across CareerDC with Miqdad. So I started as an intern. My main goal was just to complete an internship in order to graduate from the university. But while working there, I found my passion in helping people develop their career and assisting them with their goals. So after my internship for 3 months, Miqdad has offered me a part-time employment to continue being an internship coordinator. After that, after a couple of months, it developed into a full-time job. And I guess Miqdad has saw a little bit of potential in me, so he gave me a bit more responsibility. So now I am managing our interns. So we also have interns in our company. So I manage a team of consultants. So I help them in writing their emails, training them in the step-by-step process on how to coordinate in the internship from start to finish. So that's pretty much what I do and what I'm still doing now. So just coordinating internship between students and host companies.
Well done. And especially today, I would say, because I also deal with internships with MIT. So I'm very like-minded. Now, a quick question to you. Is it really hard to acquire an internship in COVID days? I know that's a question out of the blue from left field, but a lot of students complain that, you know, internships are very hard to come by these days.
Yes, I definitely agree. Internship during the pandemic is definitely more difficult because most businesses, they just focus on trying to survive and not really employing new companies or even new candidates, or assisting students to come in. So it's very much more difficult. But CareerDC has found other ways, such as remote internship or virtual internships, in order to cope with that and to help the students continue learning and continue doing internship despite being in a pandemic.
A very inspirational young lady, I would say.
Thank you.
Very much. I now understand why Miqdad.
Thank you.
And also joining us, I should say, is Miqdad Hassan from CareerDC, the managing director. He has popped in to say hello and supported this discussion as well. Thank you, Tricia. What we might do is hand over to Mohammed. Mohammed,
hello. Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you too. Yes, I'm Mohammed Haq in the IT industry from 1987. Since then, I was always following my software engineering field. I never did track to my other career. Completed a lot of university degrees from Australian universities. Still love it because this education never ends. You have to study in IT until you die. Because we all depend on the information technology, either in using mobile and office everywhere. So quite a few projects I had in mind to complete. So I have just come across Mr. Miqdad. So I've got many projects, which is my innovative idea in IoT, especially the machine learning and the cloud networking. A lot of other fields, which is actually emerging technologies in these days. I love it. I found a lot of genius students studying at MIT. They wanted to build their career. I really welcome them and go in advance in their career.
And I think from today's presentations, right across the bill from both schools, you can see that students, our MIT students, are very enthusiastic to embrace technology, and those presentations were outstanding. I've certainly had a lot of comments over the course of today that have really given the green tick to those projects, and are very well done to all of those students today.
Yep.
What do you think the biggest challenges in the workplace today are?
After pandemic, it's really hard to get into the business because there are not many businesses, but I feel like this is a time for the new graduates to get the technical skills strong, because after pandemic, when there'll be no viruses, export Australian business will be going higher. And this is the time the students and new graduates, they will be able to take the right skills to get in the job market. And I think MIT students are really so bright. They're genius. They've completed a lot of my projects. I'm really happy on that. And I really appreciate them that they have got a lot of effort, a lot of time they spend to complete the projects. And they can go further in this career if they want to stick to. And I really like their attitudes, the progress, and that's it. I mean, I'm very happy on that.
Well done. All right, Mazzad, let's take a point of view from Mazzad. Is Mazzad there?
Yep, I'm here. Sorry, I was a little bit late in joining the meeting. I just had some issues with Zoom.
That's all right. I'll just get more grey hair. That's all right. All the students know. That's fine. All right, go for it, Mazzad.
Hello, hi everyone. I hope everyone's doing well and they're doing well during this COVID pandemic. My name is Mazzad and I'm the co-founder of Radion Marketing, and I'm also the head of digital growth at Radion Marketing. Firstly, I would like to thank MIT and Brother Miqdad for having me and inviting me to this panel. So I have completed my Bachelor's of Business, majoring in economics from La Trobe University, and I was previously at University of New South Wales as well. And I also had the opportunity to have to complete a semester at Harvard University. And so basically my primary role in my business is to help small to medium companies scale their marketing. So it's both forms of marketing, traditional and digital, but we're primarily focusing on digital marketing. So I hope my knowledge and my experience can benefit the students and the discussion in the panel that has to come.
Oh, well done. Look, I have a topic for discussion already, and it's a big topic, and I'll throw it open to the panel.
No.
2 words: millennial employment. Millennial employment. Sorry, and remember, we welcome all questions from all of the participants today, everyone attending. Feel free to send in those questions. So millennial employment, does anyone have an opinion on millennial employment?
Yep, well, it's predicted that in 2020, around 50% of the workforce or new workforce would be millennials. And then starting off the entrance of Generation Z as well into the employment market. So it's very important for us to know what are the trends and what sort of skills you should have to let's say crack the job market and basically start your career.
So what are you looking for? What are you looking for if a student or a graduate, recent graduate, or one completing and about to finish their studies, what if they approached you for a job, what would you be looking for?
That's a very good question. I would definitely look, for example, if we have a position for web design or web development, I would see if that person is aware of the industry trends, aware of the design trends, and is well aware of the applications and software revolving web design and websites, and if they have completed some sort of certification beside their university studies, and also at the same time see if they have completed some sort of project-related work or project-related coursework at the university or somewhere else. So that's something definitely we'll look at, and we will look at students who are very interested in that industry and they have done their research before applying for that role.
Amee, I'll bring you into that. I'll bring you into that conversation too.
So most of the appointments that I take care of are more senior, but when it comes to any, so for example, a lot of people that I speak to are people in an industry already, but they're, for example, trying to crack into cybersecurity, which is a hot topic at the moment. And they'll ask me, what certs should I get? And everybody's talking about certs. And a lot of my clients that I speak with and I deal with on a regular basis, they're not really that interested in certs unless it's a really hard to get cert that really sets you apart from everyone else, like OSCP, which takes, it has a 96% fail rate. So if you've passed that, that's something special. There's a lot of certification companies that try to sell things to you under the promise that you're going to get into the industry somehow. They're selling you hope. You don't really need certifications as per se, as much as you can just prove that you've actually done something. It doesn't matter if you did the certification or not. For example, in cybersecurity, I'm going to use that as a good example here. You don't need to
Many of our students want to come to me and say, I want a cybersecurity job when I'm finished.
Exactly. So you just need a lot of the tools that are used for cybersecurity these days, they're free. They're out there. They're all freeway. You can get your hands on them. Get yourself a Linux server, a sandbox environment, and start breaking stuff. Start experimenting with it, and then you may or may not, but you may find a bug. You get hands-on experience when you walk in to a high level, let's say a management level interviewer. You can talk to them about battle stories. You're not just standing there talking about, oh, this isn't my CV, this is my past. You're talking about your future. So when you go into an interview, you're there not to talk about yourself. You're there to talk about the problems that they have that you can fix. And that's a lot of people, they go into an interview with the assumption when people tell you, oh, so tell me about yourself. They go, well, they just read the whole CV. No, they don't want to hear that. They want to hear from you, how are you going to solve my problem? So that
sorry, go on. Don't go.
That's when you go in and talk about the stuff that you're doing that's not on your CV necessarily, or the important things that they want to hear. And research is key to that.
How important is cultural fit?
That's a question to me.
Yes.
It's extremely important. When you say cultural fit, a lot of people think ethnicity or culture or where you're from. No, not at all. It's more about how you align with company values and how are you to manage as an employee, as a newcomer, and how easily do you adapt and learn and relearn if you need to relearn. Because a lot of millennia, they look at work in a very different light than, let's say, our parents do. Where our parents, they were, I don't know, I'm a son of a migrant. I'm migrated to Australia as well, so I understand the whole concept of not having local experience and all that, which is bollocks. You don't need local experience if you know how to do the job, and you can really be resilient and prove it. A long story short is our parents tried to make us a better life here in Australia. Now that we're more financially secure and that we've got families of our own, we look for fulfillment in our careers. And a lot of the time, the management, if your fulfillment inside the career fits with the view of the manager, then you've got a cultural fit.
Tricia, how important is a CV?
For interns, especially for us, because we work with a lot of interns like newly graduates or current students, CVs are very important for the companies based on our experience, because it shows them what kind of skills they have, currently have, what kind of studies they're currently doing, what projects they have, if they've done any extracurricular activities outside of university. And just to add on to what they were saying, how technical skills are important when it comes to interviews, I think interpersonal skills is also as important, because the companies need to see, especially if we do unpaid internships, for example, the companies need to see that you have the motivation and you're keen to learn, because you're not getting paid for it, you're just getting the experience out of it. So you need to have that motivation and that drive that you want to learn about this industry and you want to gain experience within that company.
How about the value of LinkedIn? Anyone, the Mazzad, Mohammed, Amee, Dad, how important, we all talk about LinkedIn today, and is it really that important?
Yes, it's very important is this, because you want to, if someone wants to sell their technology, and globally it will be attracted to the employers and they can easily contact them. It's very, very important these days that everyone has to update their the profile in the LinkedIn.
I think what I'm getting to is the importance of a network.
Yes, this is a network. It's like another way of Facebook.
But not posting social pictures.
Yes, all professional.
Of you out at a bar on a Friday night or anything like that. So, Mazzad, how important is digital footprint? to new graduates or anyone in the employment market? Digital footprint. So that could be anything.
Well,
and do you check? That's another question for Amee as well. And Tricia, when in recruiting staff or prospective candidates for employment opportunities, do you check their digital footprint?
Absolutely. I don't remember the last time I used Seek Advert to fill a role. So everything, recruiters live on LinkedIn. If there's any way you should impress, probably even more than your CV, it's LinkedIn. Because a lot of these days, people don't even have CVs. They just say, look at my LinkedIn profile. That is their go-to CV. And they put a lot of effort in their LinkedIn itself. But what's more important is once you get into, when you don't have so much experience, when you don't have a lot to put in there, any impressive sort of certification or whatever, what you do is you write articles, you write interesting posts, you publish your research that you've done, and you're at least active in your academic circles, so that when I see that you're not just a blank profile, you're not just no picture or nothing, you're just there, and it's just got nothing on you. So I have to Google your name, find your Facebook, find a bit more about you. No, your LinkedIn should be really, and I think millennials understand this perfectly, because they live a life they basically live a virtual life. They hardly, they're always plugged in. And for them, like being off grid is like, well, what do I do? But they understand the importance of a digital footprint, because that's essentially the world that they're going to be working in.
Tricia, have you got a comment on that?
Yep. So just based on experience and what we've noticed, a lot of international students, they're not very familiar with LinkedIn. I'm not sure if it's just really big here in Australia and the US, but from other countries, LinkedIn is not that common and not popular. So that's why we do try to guide them in making their LinkedIn better. But for companies as well, as they know that we're sending them international students, they don't really look onto their LinkedIn accounts, but more on their CVs. So this is just another end of the spectrum, because this is just for newly graduates, and especially if they are aware that they're international students, they don't really expect them to have a LinkedIn account. I think LinkedIn is more for people that are locally in Australia, and also the ones that are more senior levels.
I've had a lot of employers over time say and make the comment that new graduates aren't ready to interview. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll throw it up to the panel. That I've had a lot of employers over the years say to me, Jared, you know what? The students aren't ready. The graduates aren't ready generally. So would you agree? And how would we deal with that? What's the solution to that? Anyone?
Yeah. Actually, the graduates, actually, they are sometimes having some lack of technical skills. But if they did the capstone project, the final year and internships, professional year, that gives them good feedback, and they can get confidence on that. Now, students are not interested, not taking actively part in the projects and professional year. They don't know what to do. They don't know the value of their degrees, their professions. And I think it's most important that they actively take part the capstone projects, internships, professional year, and they're ready for the job market. And they have to focus, they have to explain everything in the LinkedIn and CVs, and they will be well fit to the industry.
And in fact, over the course of the past 12 months or so, we've had many opportunities, grad opportunities have come as a direct result of those internships, and also the capstone projects, in fact. So these are very critical things that the students do and undertake, the projects that they undertake, because it may lead to actual employment prior to graduation.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually always tell the students to add even the project experience to their CVs, because this is very similar to an internship. They have actually, during their project, whether it's a 3-month or a 6-month project, this work experience can be added to their CV because it is with an Australian company. It will look much better on their CV and on their LinkedIn, and it will give them higher potential for companies to look at their CV and give them the opportunity for an interview, because there's a huge difference between someone who only graduated and doesn't have any related experience on their CV, and someone who has something related experience on their CV.
All right, another topic for discussion would be changes and challenges in the 21st workplace, a 21st century workplace. Mazzad, I'll throw it open to you. Challenges in the 21st century workplace.
So would it be relevant to millennial employment?
Yes, it could, yes. Or just generally too, but more so because given our audience today are mostly not my age, yep. Would be that 100 years old, that it would, you know, in 20s and 30-year-olds.
Right. I guess.
In fact, I'll open it up, Amee. Challenges in the 21st century workplace. Anyone?
I think one of the most important part everyone has to have, whether they are coming from accounting or engineering or medicine, one of the most important part, they know how to communicate through the digital way, like using internet, emerging technologies, artificial intelligence, neural network, and then cloud computing, browser, everything's are part of the, because people coming from different background, they don't know how to use properly Excel and Office. It's very hard for them. So everyone coming from any background, they should have all this knowledge. Then they can communicate for the professional way.
Okay, Tricia, any comment at all?
Yep. When it comes to challenges, I guess just the as you mentioned before, the interviews, they need to. I would suggest for students to attend those events they have at university where you can learn more about career growth and your professional skills, improving your professional skills, because this will definitely help you when it comes to interviews. They have to just be more proactive. When, for example, also when attending interviews, they have to be open to the possibilities that the companies will have, because I've noticed sometimes with students, they have a specific position in mind or a specific task in mind that they want to do at a specific company. But I believe it's better to be open to a lot of options that are out there in the market, because gaining more of these new experiences will also expand and broaden your skills and your knowledge. So always just be open to everything that's in front of you.
Amee?
I think there's definitely a huge lack of leadership, resilience, and mindfulness in the 21st century, especially in people. The education system, the way that it's been designed, is they've trained people as discarding the soul. For example, they don't have mindfulness, they don't have a sense of fulfillment in the previous education system. And now that that's been overhauled and that education is not playing as huge a role, I think we've got a huge lack of leadership. When I say leadership, I don't mean just the ability to lead, but the ability to make decisions for yourself. So a lot of the millennials coming into the workplace are clashing with the older generation who knew exactly when and what they wanted. So that's a huge clash right there. Another thing is resilience, which is, you know, if you told, you know, my father no, he'd just find another way. Or if you know, they just had that grit that, you know, they were hungry at one point in their life and they didn't know where their next meal was coming from. And that changes you as a person. So I think a huge challenge is that people are coming out of homes and environments where everything's been instant gratification, everything's been done like that. And I think that's a big problem in the education as well as the industry. And of course, mindfulness, which is emotional intelligence, your ability to communicate with people, not just on digital media, but your ability to communicate with people face to face. And I think we're losing that increasingly. So in the 21st century, I'm thinking it's not just your ability to learn new things. I'm sure most of us know how to use a computer. Like that's thing of the 80s and 90s, that do you know how to use a computer or an internet? Like today, my kids, they told me, you know, Dad, there was a time before iPhone, there was a time before internet. And I'm telling them, you know, I grew up in a time there was no internet. You had to go outside and play. So the challenge that we are facing and the distractions that we're currently experiencing in the workplace is very different, because working from home, you've got one of these and it's always going off. It's about self-discipline and being able to manage yourself and less so others, so to speak, because everything these days is trying to be autonomous and everything is trying to be robotic. In a world of robotics, the most important thing to have is a soul.
And we're recording this. I like that line, that last line. Yes, go on.
I just wanted to add a few points because there are a lot. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of students here. I myself, I was a student a couple of years ago, and I just want to give this advice to everyone that we should be open to different opportunities and different positions, but it's very important to find where your passion is and where you find purpose, in which industry you find your purpose. Because just for the sake of getting a job and getting in, you wouldn't be able to survive or continue, because us millennials, we're wired to work in an industry that we truly value and find purpose in. So that's one of the advice that I'll have for everyone here who are looking for work. And also, don't trade in work-life balance, because employers now are very aware that people like us, we don't want to, this is a priority for us, and prioritize personal development and learning, and also try to aim for promotions and make it clear. So these are the things that current employers are very aware that these are the needs of us millennials in workplace.
How important is presentation when you, or first impressions, when they come to you? Anyone on the panel can answer this one, that they come to you and first impressions. I've had in the past, when I was recruiting, someone coming in Sydney, someone came in board shorts, straight off Bondi. No, and there's the door. So, and also Amee, what would be, as a recruiter, and that's a true story.
I believe you. I've had some shockers myself.
Okay, and that is what I was about to ask you. What is the worst interview? Don't name them, but what is the worst interview that you've ever had?
Well, I won't go into too much detail, but I would say if there's one thing that hasn't changed over 100, 2,000, I don't know how many years, is that first impression. And you know what? You've got seconds, minutes to make an impact, and it's all about energy. If you come into a room and you're not lifting the energy and you're sucking the energy out of people who manage people will immediately notice. They will immediately notice, and that is, you're straight away on the back foot. Best way to go into an interview is to have a positive mindset that these people want to hire me and I want to work for them.
And would it be a good idea to know who you're going to see first, and to do that research, to jump on LinkedIn, perhaps if you've got a name, who is going to interview, or the team that you're going to interview. You do your research both on the company, organisation, and the people organising the interview, or who you're going to interview. So you can then, within those first couple of seconds, can establish common ground with them.
Totally.
Would you say employment's a game, and you've got to know how to play that game?
No, it's a bit of a dating game, isn't it? We often refer to it as a dating game, and we're like, recruiters are matchmakers. That's a nice way to put it. There's another term I've been called in my career.
Yes.
I won't share on this platform, but matchmakers is probably the best one. But look, and often, you know, it's about taking ownership. If you find, and you'll come across in your job search, you'll come across all sorts of people and out of all sorts of walks of life in your time, but it's about your ability to take control, and people immediately take to that. If you're able to walk into a room and keep a conversation, keep their presence in whether it's a job or anything else, you're valuable. Straight away you become valuable in their eyes, and it's extremely important that you have the guts to do that. And it's all about resilience. You go out there, you do your research, don't be afraid. And people fail more because they're afraid than because they tried. So you have to say, for example, I've failed more times than you've tried. If there's a term I read somewhere, a master and an apprentice, what's the difference? He goes, the master's failed more than the apprentice has ever tried. So the point is, you go in and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Do not be, and when you do make mistakes, own them. Own everything in an interview. Yes, I made a mistake. I own that. That's fine. And people love you for it.
And wear the armor. Wear the armor.
That's it.
Tricia, that brings in you. Young, professional lady in employment.
Yep.
And the challenges of, because I'm looking at the list of participants, and there are quite a number of young women in the list.
Yeah.
Challenges for women in business, and that brings in that topic as well.
Yep.
You encounter, I can see by a smile coming on that's possibly something you could talk about well and truly.
Yeah, so I think as a woman, I'm not sure if I don't want to stereotype anything, but just like in general, we have a lot of like fear of failure. So as Amee said, like I learned something from him today, like don't be afraid to make mistakes, because a lot of women nowadays, they are afraid to make mistakes just because they have that social expectations. And I guess what we have to do as women is to just defy those social expectations and just do us. Like if we are strong, if we're strong-minded, if we're powerful, if we have a lot of opinions, we let that out. Like we tell them our opinions and not be afraid of what they're going to say or their judgment, or if they say that, oh, women shouldn't have this strong opinion about this kind of topic. But if you have a strong opinion and passion on something, I think you should just say it and just own it, as what Amee said. So yeah.
We've got a question from our head of school for business, our School of Business. Siva, yes, you can ask a question.
All right. Thank you, Gerard. Thank you, Gerard. All right. Sorry to intrude on all this, because I like the way you guys were talking about professionalism, first, in terms of impression and all the rest. I just wanted to ask, all of you who have employed people and we have meetings, how do you resonate to someone who does not come on the camera? Because this is a dilemma we have when we have lectures. We have students who actually refuse to come on the camera. And I can understand an occasion like this, we want to highlight you guys as the main plenary speakers, so we are not on the camera. But in terms of participation and answering questions, we have students who do not want to come on the camera. What's your take on this? Sorry to bother you all, but thank you again.
No, we welcome it. So we'll throw it over to anyone on the panel.
I spend a lot of my time on the phone, right? And for me, I don't know how it translates into lectures and the way you guys work in terms of interacting with your students. But for me, tone, I listen to tone more than anything else. It's a very famous trick of the trade in recruitment. Smile before you pick up.
That's right. What I was asking was more in terms of when you have your meetings.
Right.
You have, say, meetings with clients and the others, and there are Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
I was talking more from that context.
Right. Okay. So I won't function without a camera.
Right.
I won't do it. So if
I agree with Amee. Yeah.
You have to ask them. We need a body language. Body language is important.
Yeah, you have to ask them to turn on their camera.
Exactly. And I keep singing this song all the time. That's why I wanted, singers with me, and good to see you guys singing the same song.
Yes, I'm with you too, Siva, Professor Siva, because also when I meet students, the first thing I say to them is turn your camera on, and it's professional etiquette.
Yeah.
It is just professional etiquette. I would like to see you as we're in person. I don't want to be talking to a blank screen. Mazzad, what do you think about cameras?
We're working with few people, like they come up with like, oh, my camera is broken, and then it does hinder the impression that, okay, hinder the communication, and also the impression that, okay, I want this certain sort of project. So it does hinder. So it's very important for the person to be confident, and at the same time, you're facing the camera, you're getting more experience in answering questions, and you'll be more confident as you go.
I'm going to disclose something about a student that was Zooming me, and he refused to put on his camera. And I said to him, no, put it on, because we're not going to start until you do. And I'll give him brownie points for it, that he was actually, he put the camera on, and I said, where exactly are you? And he said, well, I'm in the house. And I said, yes, but what part of that house? And he said, well, where it's quiet. And I go, well, tell me where you are. And then he slipped the camera, and he was actually sitting in the toilet, right? Just because there was a quick shot of the toilet base, right? And I said, is that exactly where you're from the toilet, right? And that is actually a true story. So I'll give him brownie points for putting on his camera. For those, I do agree. Tricia, what were your thoughts about that with cameras?
Yep. So most definitely, I think camera is very important. We have our daily meetings, like clients meeting within the company, and we all have our camera on. I think it also helps for whoever the person is hosting. They also have to have their camera on, because I've noticed when I'm training consultants that are, for example, overseas or they're in a different city, if I have my camera on, then they'll automatically turn their camera on as well. But if I have my camera off, then they'll think that, oh, it's okay to have my camera off. So it has to come from the host as well to take initiative to like, oh, have your camera on from the very beginning.
Okay, we've got a couple of, we've actually got 3 or 4 questions going on. So Ravi has asked, thanks for sharing your experiences. It's great. So we're well received, gang. So I'm graduating this year from a Bachelor of Networking. So my question is, when do I know I should be looking for work? Should I join masters, or should I be looking for a job, and how do I start? Anyone can answer that?
Can I start with that one?
Yes.
So my answer to that is you should be working already. You do not wait. This is not a place where people finish a degree and then make up their mind what they want to do in life. You should already be doing it part-time, doing whatever you can to get something on your CV, because if you finish your degree, it's too late. You should be already getting stuff, doing at least projects, at least little, I don't know, do non-for-profits. Go into Cancer Research Council, we'll knock on their door and say, hey, I want to fix your Citrix service. They're really old. Can I get in there? I want to recable your networks. I'll do that for free. And then take a picture of it. Be proud. Put it on LinkedIn. Of course, with their permission, because you may be sharing sensitive information. But what I'm saying is, if you're talking finishing degree masters, looking for a job, you're too late. You should be working, and if you have a choice between a full-time job and finishing your degree, get a full-time job and go part-time study.
I think we would all agree, and there are comments about Amee's energy. Amee's got a lot of energy, and it's rubbing off on a lot of people, and I can see that from the comments. Okay, how about this one? Chindamar, my question is, you talked about first impressions and energy. Is the job interview about energy or about one's valuable skills?
Valuable skills, I guess.
Should be both.
Valuable skills. Yeah.
Should be both.
Would be both.
It should be both, yeah. If you have the skills, but you can't convey it to the interviewers, and not in an energetic and motivated way, so they won't be able to see the skills that you have. So you have to be able to tell your story. Yeah, for example, if you use a specific technical skill in completing your project, you have to be able to say it to them and make them understand on how you use that skill.
Okay, all right, another one. We are a fresh student, so a new student, having no previous experience when looking for a job and going for an interview. The most dilemmatic thing is employer looking for experience. experienced one, and maybe an experienced candidate, not a fresh one. If we're not getting the job, then how do we get experience? Please let us know how to crack this. Is it the fault of the student or recruiter to prefer experienced one to the experienced one?
I think this is for the students. They have to build their technical skills, or they can do the certifications. Now, once they have certification in a particular field, they don't have to go for experience. The employer will know that he has good value to the industry, so they can select, choose him for the employment.
Oh, yeah, go on. Sorry, Mazzad.
Yep. So be involved with student clubs and societies, because they do add as extracurricular activities in your resume, and employers value that a lot. So never undermine the importance of extracurricular activities.
Amee?
I'd say, look, on the last question, I wanted to add, the CTO of Citrix Systems said, we hire attitude and we train skill. Attitude beats skill every day of the week, and hard work beats talent. So with regards to that last question, I think that really answers it. But the dilemma, I think the question is very broad, and it's important that we understand the question better, because I would answer that question is, I would say, ask them why. Ask them why. If people are not interviewing you, ask them why. And if they're interviewing you and wasting their and your time, then ask them why. Because don't be so agreeable. Just don't go in there and say, oh, Mr. Client, why should I get the job? But why should I be working for you?
Okay. Yeah. All right. So what are some of the programs, opportunities, internships, or initiatives? This is from Mercy. So what are some of the programs, opportunities, internships, or initiatives that international students can explore, especially since employers are always asking for permanent residents? Tricia.
Yep. Yes, we do coordinate internships. So for international students, you can actually do an unpaid internship as a work experience. You just need to be enrolled into a course. It doesn't have to be a university course. It can be outside university, which is a third party. And either you can go through agencies like us, like CareerDC, where we organize an internship for you.
Also, sorry to interrupt, but also there are a lot of, especially in COVID days, what we're finding that a lot of students are taking up virtual internships. And I think you mentioned that right from the start, that virtual internships, and there are organisations right throughout the world that are actually doing virtual internships, and a lot of MIT students are actually picking them up and have completed. And some of them are with big brand names. And I've actually suggested, and if anyone wants to comment on this, that I've suggested to MIT students to get think about the reader of your CV. Think about the reader, and that's a potential employer and what they recognise. And I've said, how about putting big brand names? This is an opportunity to put big brand names on your CVs or your history or LinkedIn or whatever the case. The Combanks, the KPMGs, you name it, the KPMG, you've got PricewaterhouseCoopers, all that sort of thing, all those sort of organisations that potential employers are actually familiar with and can identify with. And these are great opportunities right now that they're able to acquire these free internships, free and virtual internships, certificates accompany them. How important are those, do you think?
Yep, they are very important because you can definitely add them onto your CV as part of your experience, and I'm pretty sure you learn a lot from them. So it is very important to take on those opportunities for virtual internships. Sometimes people underestimate virtual internships, because I get a lot of students saying, no, I want office internship. I want to be working in an office to gain that on-site experience. But they always refuse and give chances to online and virtual internship, but they actually can give you as much experience as on-site. Working in an on-site environment.
We've got a message directly to Amee. Yes, to you. And it's from Rohit. And my question is to Amee, that he mentioned that when you're asked the question, tell me about yourself. So you mentioned that we don't need to speak about our past and etc., but we need to speak about what kind of the project or issue in project they are working. And I'm reading as written. So how we know about the project or the problem that we can solve, because this kind of information is not available on their website. Is it private for any company? So how do you suggest we get the kind of information regarding the project or issue? Thank you.
Okay, so a lot of the feedback that people take from your interview is from the questions that you ask. The 3 questions that you ask at the end of every interview, and I imagine most interviews will be multiple stages. These days, people accept a 5-stage interview process. In the past, that was unthinkable. You get 2 and that's it. You don't get more amount of time. But these days, people want to make sure that the company is such a right fit and they work out. So they're happy to do 5-round interviews. So in each round, you're going to ask questions. Don't waste them. Have your questions ready before you go into the interview, so you find out what the problem is. You have to go in with a consulting mindset and not it's all about when you come in with your attitude, you're like, I'm coming in to solve a problem. I'm coming in because I'm worth something and I can contribute. I'm not coming in to clock on and clock off. People don't want people. They don't want you then. You shouldn't be even going for an interview if you just go on an old school job where, those clock on, clock off, 9 a.m. start, 5 p.m. finish, forget it. So in your first interview, you're going to get as much juice as you can out of them. And that is going to land you a second interview. Why? Because you ask questions. You're curious. You're actually interested in what the job is. You're not just there sitting pretty and, in a beautifully presented. You're there because you want to be there. And you're there because you're inquisitive. And straight away, when you're inquisitive, you're showing resilience. When you're inquisitive, you're showing that you can find, you're resourceful because you're looking at different solutions. And then when you go into a second or third stage interview, when you get to the CTO, or in your case, it wouldn't probably be the CTO, but the owner of the company, or it may be a higher level up manager, they don't want to have a chat to you about your certifications. They don't want to have a chat about your degree. They want to talk to you about their problems, and then you can package what you have. I don't know, you just have to be a little bit creative and return that to them and say, well, this is the solution because I've done this and I reckon it'll be great. And look, if you don't hire me, then take this idea on board. Maybe it'll help you. Be selfless. Who cares? Okay, if you don't get the interview, but you know what? You might have a mate who he might not hire you, but he'll have a mate. And if you leave a good impression and if you're selfless, chances are he's going to be selfless back.
Associate Professor Monica Durin, have you got a comment or a question? I see there's...
I have a quick comment, or I have several quick comments. I think everyone on the panel is really saying something really, really important. And I hope all the students are listening. But I can share a little bit from my background. I have been international student. And so the first job I had in Australia was at a restaurant. I was waitressing. And then I was doing my master's degree. And one day my friend say, what's wrong with you, Monica? Your English is not bad. Why are you waitressing? I was like, oh, I don't know where I can get a job. And then my friend just say, jump on seek.com and applied. And I got a research analyst part-time job at BIS Radion. I didn't even know it's one of the leading market research company in Australia. I just know that I got a part-time job. And then when I worked there for 1 year, I finished with my degree. I went on to my PhD. After I finished my PhD, I wanted to become a consultant. And I applied. And then I got a job interview, 3 rounds, altogether 6 hours. I ran out of things to say. And I thought, what are they trying to get out of me? But it's exactly what Amee is saying. They're trying to get out of me how I'm going to be able to service their clients. Later on, after a month after I joined the company, I asked the director, why did you give me such a difficult interview? He said, well, there are 3 things going against you. First, your PhD degree. We don't know whether your head is damaged. Second, I not sure you have truly the Australian experience because you are an international student. But by talking to you, we are sure that you can fit in. And thirdly, I found out that I was the first female consultant in the team. So they need to find that I'm a good fit, right? So that is what everyone on the panel is saying. You need to really showcase what you can offer them. It is not what you can get out of them. So just try. After 2 years working as a consultant there, I got calls from Accenture, McKinsey, Deloitte, and I was like, "Ooh, people are noticing me because you have market value now. They can recognize you, and don't be afraid as a female as well to just go out and try new things." I mean, not many PhD graduates want to become a consultant. Everyone told me, "Oh, you're just wasting your time." But why? Why can't you, right? So that is what I'm so thankful for the panel to really raise all these issues, and don't even think about, "Oh, I'm an international student, I'm lacking in something." It is never about that. It is everything in your mind. What your passion is, what do you want to achieve? That's it. Thank you so much, everyone.
Well said, Monica. Well said. Okay, because I'm looking at the time and we've got about 2 minutes left. Otherwise, we'll be all thrown off. But the one piece of advice that you would all, looking at the list, there's about 90 people at the moment participating in this session. And most of them are students. And what I would say, MIT students and grads, and I would say to each of you, I'll pose the same question. What's the one piece of advice you would give an MIT student or graduate looking for work? What's the one piece of quick advice? Amee, we'll start with, no, we'll start with, no, I'm not, we'll save you. Tricia. Tricia?
Yep. I would say for someone looking for a job now is to start now. Don't wait for tomorrow, wait for your graduation, wait to complete this. Just start now and try and look for a job now.
Mohammed, quickly.
Never give up. Never give up your hope for the next job.
Great answer. All right. Amee?
I'd say prepare your intention before you start. Yeah, you internalize. If you do not internalize, you will doubt yourself. So always have a purpose. What is your purpose? Ask yourself, what is my purpose? Internalize and know your intention, because that is going to determine course of action of you and your potential employer or anyone else that you deal with in life.
And Mazzad?
I'll build on that. So find your purpose and keep building on it.
All right. Okay. Well, we might leave it there for this session. I'd like to thank all of you, Amee, Tricia, Mohammed, Mazzad. I would like to, and Miqdad in brackets there. I would like to thank each and every one of you. This, although normally gets, can you see that? I don't think they're flowers. They're flowers. I don't think, oh, there you go. I don't think it's the virtual background, but that's normally what we give our guests on campus. But look out in the mail, that's what I would say. And so thank you all again very much for the discussion.